They don't have control of it. This is public. This is public property.
This is our police officer, and you're going to respect him.
So first of all, let me just give a little context for people who may not understand, what's happening here. There's been a lot of protests lately about specifically regarding ICE and Donald Trump in general. And the No Kings protest is essentially my understanding of it anyway. And granted, I haven't done a huge dive into this. I don't really explore political topics with the same rigor as I would say, any of the actual law. But from my understanding, the No Kings protest is against Donald Trump and essentially saying that he's creating a monarchy, in the way that he's operating as the president right now. I'm not going to comment on whether or not I, necessarily believe that, but I do think that people have a right to protest. Abstract Echo says it's insane out here in LA. It's like the government has declared war on the people. And honestly, that has been my perspective on it as well, as far as how law enforcement officers are acting. It does seem like there has been, and as a matter of fact, I thought about making an entire video talking about how bad cops are at riot control. Because, obviously we've had a lot of riots over the past 5 years for various reasons. And there's never been a situation where I think that the cops handled it appropriately and did what they were supposed to do. So I won't be surprised if that's what we see in this video. Cops are really bad at crowd control. And I don't know how much training they get for that, but it should definitely be more because it's so bad. When you're a hammer, all you see is nails. That is very true. Rojai says we have the right to protest, but the right to protest legally, which is true. At the same time, where the legality is drawn is relatively clear and objective in the law. But the thing about it is like protests are supposed to incite some degree of revolution. I think that's their intention. Like, for example, the argument that I think is the most prevalent when you're talking about this stuff is, we wouldn't even have America if it wasn't for violent protests. Our country was literally established through violent protests. So I think there's an argument to be made, at least, that sometimes violent protests is called for. Is it legal? No, definitely not. There's almost no situation where that would be considered legal. But is it called for? Is it ethical? Is it like what society demands? That's a different story, because oftentimes the law does not reflect the demand of the people that it's supposed to serve. And yeah, counterpoint. Stating Semantics is saying that the counterpoint is that most successful civil rights campaigns in the last 200 years were both non-violent. And that he's referring to Gandhi and MLK, which is true to a degree. They weren't necessarily non-violent. They just weren't violent on the behalf of the protesters. But I can see a situation where we live in this majority rules society where there may be a situation where people do believe that violence is called for. I'm just going to say that, I have no comment on whether or not this protest is legitimate. I just think as a personal overall philosophy that sometimes there will be situations where violence is a part of a legitimate protest. And I'll just leave it at that. And we can get back into this video now. All right,
up here at the Kansas State Capitol building in Topeka, Kansas, there's a No Kings rally protest going on here today. And so me and Michael are up here. Michael Spellman, he's got his press pass on him. He's got a couple of messages here. First one says, "Deport feminist bitches first."
Whoa. Oh, Jesus. All right. That's a strong message.
And illegals drain American resources.
Okay. Well, we know whose side he's on now.
We'll see how this goes here.
Okay, here we go. The No Kings protest is set to bring busloads of Kansans to Topeka in a coordinated national demonstration. So I'm assuming this was a highly planned thing by some kind of organization if they're bringing in busloads of people. Multiple sources confirm this is Topeka that buses are carrying participants from across Kansas en route to the capital, with plans to rally and protest of what organizers describe as a growing culture of authoritarianism in the United States. Okay, we're getting to the protest.
Look around here a little bit.
you know this sign right here is about to piss off all of these people. There's no way it's not going to. I'm gonna 2x this until we get to some action here. Okay, so I just want to point out that there's some kind of clear organization going on here. This person is an event sponsor, as indicated by the Dr. Justin here. Spies? So that makes me think that this is like a legitimate organized protest. Did they, so it makes me wonder if they had a permit for this. He has a PhD. This individual, Justin Spies? I'm going to say Spies. That's what it looks like to me. Has a PhD in lifespan human development from Kansas State University. So this is a PhD educated individual, just so you guys know. This is not a fake title, according to him. My mod's saying that there was national coordination on No Kings protests to secure permits generally. So they very well could have had a permit for this.
I used to be a bigot too. Do you need a mom hug? Do you need a mom hug?
You're a mom?
Yeah, I'm a
You
mom.
look like a guy.
Huh?
You look like a guy.
Oh, I do.
That was kind of mean.
You'll need to move out to the sidewalk.
Says who?
It says me, because they have a permit and you are against their cause. So they're
Okay, the cop just told him they have a permit. So what that means is this is no longer a traditional public forum. You don't have a right to exercise free speech here, especially if it's counter to what this message is. Usually when there's a permit granted for an exercise of free speech, the whole point of that permit is to avoid conflict with conflicting views. So they designate spaces where other, counter protesters can be at. And this is not a violation of the First Amendment. This is not, against your free speech. This is just how we have free speech in an organized way. I'm wrong about that? Okay. Maybe I am. Of course, this is a cursory explanation, but I'd love to read the case law on that because it's my understanding, at least as a cursory understanding, that if you get a permit for a free speech demonstration, that I'm not saying that it's a private place now by any means. This is still a public forum. But the analysis of that forum does change depending on the status of that forum. If it is being used for a particular purpose, then it can change how the courts view that. That's my point.
Yeah, they don't have a permit for that.
Yes, they do.
They don't have control over this.
Yes, they
There is no agreement between the state of Kansas and the event sponsor that grants the sponsor authority to control access to the state capitol grounds. Yes, it's not necessarily, okay. Additionally, see Startzel versus City of Philadelphia. We can look that up. Let's see here. The parties to the events surrounding October 2004 outfits have different and indeed contrary views of the protections the First Amendment affords to organizers of events that generate counter-protests and the right of those counter-protesters. Let me see, what court is this? Okay, this is a Third Circuit appeals case. So bear in mind that this ruling only applies in this circuit. So let's see. The particular event brought before us was on October 10th, 2004. It was organized by Philly Pride. Okay, so it was some kind of gay event. Like not, it was some kind of not a homosexual event, protest. The counter-protesters were members of Repent America, led by Michael Markovich, who entered the area assigned to Outfest with large signs, bullhorns, and musical instruments seeking to proclaim their message that homosexuality is a sin. When they disobeyed the police directive to move, they were arrested, and they filed suit alleging federal and state claims. So let's see what they said. 3 considerations underline any First Amendment analysis. Yeah, of course, whether the speech is protected, whether it's in a traditional public forum or some other forum, and whether the government's justification for exclusions from the relevant forum satisfy the requisite standard. So the first 2 issues are not at issue in this case, the first 2 considerations. So they're saying whether the speech was protected and the nature of the forum are not an issue with this. So whether they had a right to exclude, that's what we're really looking at here, huh? Sorry, I'm not paying attention to the chat. I should be reading this. What type of forum is it? Like I said, it's still an open public forum. It's just that the way that the forum is treated has changed. How is standing silently an incitement? Well, when you're holding signs that are critical of the other person's perspective, I would say that's pretty insightful. I know it doesn't change the forum status, but does it change the forum analysis is the question. And we're about to find out right now anyway. Okay, so it's their perspective that they have a right to exclude certain people from the event who hold contrary antagonistic viewpoints. There's language in the district court's opinion that supports that position. The court stated that once the city issued a permit, it was empowered to enforce the permit by excluding persons expressing contrary messages. So this was a reversal, I'm assuming, is coming of that particular opinion. The authorities cited that the district court do not support that broad proposition, nor does the Supreme Court opinion relied on by all the parties. My colleague in his concurrence suggests that we believe that the police in effect issued an exclusive permit to Outfest supporters. As we can make clear hereafter, that is not the holding of the position. Interesting. So what they're saying is that, or what the appellate court's saying is that the previous court looked at this Hurley case to make the determination of whether or not this would violate free speech. And the court is saying this case is not the appropriate case to look at for this, to determine the jurisprudence associated with this. Okay, now we're in the Hague case. I'm kind of familiar with this case, which is that streets. It basically defined what is a traditional public forum. So those of our sister circuits that have on occasion had to argue the issue agree. The Court of Appeals from the Ninth Circuit held that a municipal policy that allowed permit holders sponsoring an event in a public forum to exclude individuals who express messages which the permit holder disagrees with was inconsistent with the First Amendment. Interesting. Starting to fall into Dr. Spy's favor here. The court held that the city could not enjoin an evangelical Christian from wearing signs or passing out pamphlets at a permitted event in a public location. And it rejected the city's argument that Hurley allowed such exclusions, noted that the plaintiff sought, quote, only to be heard, not to have his speech included or possibly confused with others. Yeah, and that's a legitimate argument to make against the Hurley case being applicable to this situation. That's interesting because Boom is right, Dr. Spies. Let's see. The court held that the city could not prevent plaintiff who attended a permitted arts festival from walking through the festival grounds wearing a sign bearing a religious message. The court distinguished Hurley on the basis that parks like that one did not seek inclusion of the speech in another group, but was merely another attendee. Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, parsing this out, just like from a practical perspective, it makes sense that you wouldn't be able to. I'm kind of going against everything I said at the beginning of this, but I mean, you got to follow the logic. It makes sense that you wouldn't be able to just exclude people for no reason, beyond them wanting to blend in and try to alter the message that you're trying to send, which I think is like the actual restriction here. So if you're not saying I'm a part of this protest and this is my message too, and then, you know, probably causing some kind of like, you know, disagreement based on that, it seems like you're right. Of course, this kind of analysis requires a lot more than just looking at one, you know, Third Circuit case. We'd have to obviously take in a whole spectrum of like ideas and cases and see how that applies. But yeah, I mean, based on this case, that's pretty damning evidence, in my opinion, that you're right. I'm going to look over this second case later, but I'm also just going to take your word for it. Yeah, no, I would say that Dr. Spees, what is happening to you, or at least what was shown at the beginning of this video and what appears to be about to happen, does seem counter to the Startzel case. Does circuit matter? It certainly does. It certainly does matter. There are different circuits for a reason, and that's because the law needs to reflect the demands of a locality. That's why we have laws that are, you know, all the way down to the local level. And that's why they can be changed and manipulated. Of course, we do have the fundamental law, the Constitution, that dictates all of the other laws, but there's a reason that we have this, you know, really tiered system of like, how big does the government get and what does it get to say? And it works best at the local level, you know, in my opinion. That's where the people's viewpoints and like what they actually want are most reflected, I would say. Yeah, Dr. Spees, no problem, dude. You know, like I said, I'm just following the logic here. This is not an exhaustive like review or anything like that. Joanna says, I know there's a big permitting issues surrounding separate opposing viewpoints at a protest because of Charlottesville. Could someone explain how this works with the First Amendment? Well, I don't think, I'll say this. I'll give you like a practical example. I don't think that because someone else is saying something that you then shouldn't be able to say something as well, you know? So I think that's the like practical nuance that's kind of at play here. But anyway, let's get back into this and see what happens to Dr. Spies.
Do not have access to, they do not have control over this.
Everyone make a wall.
They do not have.
What's going on here?
They do not control this.
I have someone needs to be removed from the property.
Removed in what way?
They're going to remove
In what way?
They have a permit that takes the whole south side of the grassy area.
No, they don't have control of it. This is public property. They don't control this.
If you do not move, you'll be cited for criminal trespass.
And what will happen?
You'll be cited for criminal trespass.
Will I be arrested?
You'll be given a citation.
Okay. What is the point of citing someone for trespassing? Like, what does that accomplish? Like, they're still trespassing after you issue the citation. Like, what the fuck does that do? Show Me State News says, the local level, we have good old boy system in place here. All local laws in multiple counties and neighboring states all work together against the people. No, don't get me wrong. I do also believe that the local level is where corruption can most easily happen. And that's certainly the case. But I also believe that that is also the venue through which the will of the people is most oftenly expressed. Oftenly.
I'm not leaving.
No, you're absolutely right.
Nope. Nope.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, Michael, they're trying to get me out of here on a trespass.
Say again?
Trespass.
Remove him for trespass.
So how do you remove somebody from the state capitol grounds for trespass?
Because these people here have a permit and he does not go along
No,
with it.
they don't have a
This is
permit.
people that have a permit, and
They
that's
don't
what we
have
remove.
control of this
They
ground.
have control of
No,
this
they
area.
don't. No, they don't.
By Kansas regulations, they do have that permit.
No, they do not. Nope. Not leaving. Nope. I'm not leaving. They do not have control of this. This is public ground. No, they do not. No, they do. Their signing to have their rally here does not give them control over the ground. No, it does not.
And keep in mind, people, we just looked at the case law, at least for the Third Circuit on this, and it's pretty clear that what Justin's doing here is is protected. You know, I'm just saying that with a cursory overview of this, you know, of course, but he does provide some more information here for anyone who wants to dig deeper into that.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Nope. No, I did learn it last time, and I ain't going nowhere because I learned it.
You didn't learn it.
Or shit, I didn't. I ain't fucking leaving.
Are police officers allowed to establish reasonable buffer zones between protesters and counter-protesters during organized events? Definitely, especially depending on the circumstance. Like if it's getting out of control and there's violent threats being made, you know, of course, their job is to, you know, not allow that to happen.
Please be removed.
Nope. This is public grounds, man.
Public ground.
This is this. Nope. No, it
You're
is
either
not.
leaving that, I'm gonna
Nope.
give you last warning to leave on your own, or they're gonna escort you out property.
I'm not being escorted out here.
Escort him out.
I'm not
Sign
leaving.
in for criminal trespass.
I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. Get your hands off me. I'm not fucking leaving. I'm not fucking leaving. Am I under arrest? Am I under arrest?
Think about this, what these people are celebrating right now. And I get it. Look, you have political ideas and you think that things are wrong and fucked up with the other side, but don't celebrate someone being arrested. That's not, like, what? Why would you celebrate that? Especially for just making a point, like expressing an opinion. Like, why would you celebrate that? That's not a call for celebration. That's ridiculous. Keep in mind that this is probably the same group of people that were, you know, calling for the disbanding of all police at one point. That's another thing to point out.
Michael, will you take my phone, brother? Michael, will you take my phone, brother? Michael, will you take my phone, brother?
I'll take his things.
You want him to take your phone?
That's a violation of my
Here, I'll
First
take the
Amendment
property.
rights.
Shout out to Lawrence Accountability for filming this after Justin got put on the ground here.
To
So
freedom
that's
of
his
press,
property.
free speech.
It's property evidence.
Evidence now. Fair enough.
The cuffs are way too fucking tight.
Well, they wouldn't be tight if you
Horse
actually.
fucking shit they would do. Horse fucking shit they would do. I didn't do a fucking thing. You try to be nice? Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself.
Oh, he's mad now. Understandably so. Yeah, and Justin said it beautifully right here in the chat, protesting authoritarianism but cheering for authoritarianism. Right there in front of them. That's exactly what they're doing. That's kind of fucking ridiculous and hypocritical.
This is unconstitutional. I have a fucking right to stand here just like every other motherfucker does. No, you cannot, motherfucker. No, you cannot. I can hardly even move my wrist. Hey, he didn't fucking check, man. He didn't fucking check. You motherfuckers fucked up, man. This is a First Amendment protected activity. Just like every motherfucker says.
This is disgusting that they're celebrating that.
You fucked up, bitch. You fucked up too, motherfucker. You fucking know it. Okay. You're gonna find yourself in a motherfucking lawsuit. You fucking know it, bitch.
Okay, look. I want to say this for anyone else who finds themselves in this situation. And Justin, don't take this as a criticism because you're free to say whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? And this is something I talk about a lot on ATA. And this is a point I think needs clarification for people who just don't watch a lot of ATA. When I tell people, when I say and I grade negatively certain people who say things that are offensive during an arrest or during a situation where they're clearly being like unlawfully arrested or having their constitutional rights violated. The reason I do that is I'm not saying that you can't say those things or that it's wrong, that it is wrong for you to say those things. It's not wrong for you to call these cops motherfuckers and tell them that they're about to get the shit sued out of them. That's totally fair and it is protected speech. But what the point I try to make with that is that you have to bear in mind that there's a chance that what you're saying will be viewed in context with the rest of the interaction. And that could just piss off a jury. You know what I'm saying? Like the people who make up a jury are regular ass people. And a lot of times they're highly vetted people to achieve a specific outcome. And convincing them one way or another may take only one wrong thing. Like I said, these are normal, regular people. So you're just dealing with average motherfuckers who will look at this and think, oh, what an asshole that guy was. I'm definitely not going to grant him $50 million for this claim. That's my point, is that practically speaking, cussing out the cops is totally fine. It's totally lawful. But when you have people who are not exposed to the problems that we have with policing, who have no idea that this world even exists, and yet they end up on a jury trying to make delineations about where free speech begins and ends, this is not going to be a very convincing image to project to them. That's my point, is that it's strictly a practical thing to measure yourself when you're being arrested by the cops so that you can make them look as bad as you possibly can, while also maintaining your own innocence. So just something to consider, that what you say will be brought into an official record and seen by someone in the courts somewhere along the way. And that just offers an opportunity for them to be biased against you in some capacity. So when I say that, I'm just taking in the practical nuances and the human elements of the legal system and giving it, that advice based on that.
We asked you to leave. You didn't leave.
Nope, I don't have to fucking leave, bitch. I don't have to fucking leave. That's what makes it unconstitutional. And these cuffs are still way too fucking tight, and you did not fucking check it. You did not fucking check it.
You want them in mine or yours? I don't care.
It's like
I
they were
want you to
tight.
check these fucking cuffs, man. They are too tight. I'm telling you right now, they're too fucking tight. And this is gonna start getting in. There's no reason why you can't do it right now, motherfucker.
Can we get over here away from everybody and then
You tell me, bitch. I'm in your fucking custody, motherfucker. Can we? Yeah, it's real.
Yeah. I gotta say though, I love it. Like, I love it when people talk like this, and it makes me laugh, and I find it very amusing. Is it the best thing for your case? Probably not, but is it good entertainment? Definitely.
Easy for you to fucking say when these cuffs ain't on your fucking wrist, bitch, and you know they're fucking tight, and I've been telling you since over there.
And I told you on the steps. I checked it.
You did not fucking check these things, man. I can't.
I just want to see it. Like, are they just gonna lead him off? Like, what's gonna happen here?
Turn it on.
What are you laughing about? The car's hot as fuck. I don't know if you're getting. I don't know if you're fucking getting in. I'm asking you a question. I'm asking you a legitimate question. You gonna fucking laugh? I don't have to answer your fucking questions, motherfucker. What the fuck is your problem, bitch? Cause you're fat fuck. Yeah, Michael, take my stuff, man.
That's hilarious. The shit talking is real.
He wants all that stuff to be given to you. Okay.
So were you arrested, Justin? Like, what happened after this?
How in the world would I drink it? How in the world would I drink it? How in the world would I drink it? Am I being difficult? I'm asking you a fuck.
Okay. Fellas, hoping somebody can help me understand how you guys can trespass somebody off of the traditional public
Yeah,
square here
okay,
in
he was
Capitol.
taken to
I'll
jail.
explain it to you, please.
All right. Yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be interesting to know if Justin has filed a case regarding this, because I would love to follow that and see where it goes. And this happened in Kansas. What circuit is Kansas in? 10th Circuit. So for those of you who may not know about this, these are the different circuits of the United States. And when we were talking earlier, we were talking about the 3rd Circuit. This case here that we were talking about, it only applies to Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. That's the 3rd Circuit. All right. This happened in the 10th Circuit, which includes Utah, Wyoming, Colorado, New Mexico, Kansas, and Oklahoma. And now, I was saying earlier that does the circuit matter? Yes, it matters, because what applies in one doesn't necessarily apply to the other, and that's largely dictated by how circuit courts rule on things, unless the Supreme Court issues a ruling that is over those. What happens in the 3rd Circuit may not necessarily apply in the 10th Circuit, but these circuits often refer to each other's decisions to make their own decisions. I'd like to see a case from the 10th Circuit specifically that sort of outlines the same principles as what's in the Startzel case from the 3rd Circuit, because I think that would be a much stronger argument to make. And maybe Justin has provided that in his video. But yeah, so that was my point, is that what happens here doesn't necessarily apply over here unless they specifically say it does. All right, I think we're good on this video. We pretty much get the gist of it. I honestly, just from a cursory reading, it seems like this was not a lawful arrest. But again, you really need to dig into the 10th Circuit in particular regarding this, because it's clear that the Supreme Court hasn't made a ruling on this type of issue, or else this case wouldn't exist. There wouldn't be them trying to parse out what the Hurley case meant in that context.